All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to continue with the string of streams with My Hero Academia. Now, this is something, well, real quick, make sure the frame rate is good on this video. This is something I didn't address during One Piece because I didn't check My Hero Academia as well. Not only are we going on break for One Piece, but we are also going on break for My Hero as well, which means no reactions next Sunday. And seeing as how in chapter 1047 of One Piece, which is after the break, is when the anime is supposed to be coming back, there's no anime options, things there as well. So that's actually going to be the first Sunday in a very long time where I don't have either My Hero Academia or One Piece to react to. Interesting. Which means that'll probably be a Sunday gaming day once I get home and everything. But we'll talk out the specifics a little bit later. But let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way. And this will not be long because you guys know how I breeze through My Hero Academia quicker than I do with One Piece. So let's go ahead and get this started. Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another My Hero Academia chapter reaction and review. In the last chapter, we pretty much had a lot of going back and forth between Midoriya and the second user as he makes his way back to the mainland where Shigaraki is. Then we have Sue and Uraraka going up against Himiko Toga. Then we have Toya going up against his brother, explained to him, like, how about we explain, you know what, since we got time, let me go ahead and tell you what happened to your dear old brother and how your brother Toya became Dabi, as he pretty much continuously uses his fire to set flames everywhere, but also starting to burn his entire body off in the process. So, let's see what this chapter has to offer us, and let me position myself correctly so that I can sit upright. It's always good to have good posture. I'm 30 years old now, so I really need to take more. The older I get, the more 10 years get added onto my life, I need to keep paying attention to the things that I'm doing. So, chapter 350. We are at a 350 mark. 50 more chapters and it'll be 400, but I don't know if the story's going to go on that long. But chapter 350, Bound to a Fiery Fate. And here we have someone saying, I suppose the big day has begun then. Police station. And then we have a guard coming up saying, be quiet. You're light on. And then the person says, you're light on guards today, so it's pretty obvious. And then it's Garaki, the doctor that has been working with All for One all these years. All to prepare for today. That's why we sought out twisted raw material born into this world. And then it shows Toya's face as his body starts to burn from the intense flames he keeps erupting. That keeps erupting from his body. And he says, and Garaki is saying, that's why we sought out twisted raw material born into this world. Warp seeds that could serve as his vessel. And it shows Toya, so am I to assume that at one point, Toya was once looked at as a potential vessel for All for One? Because why would it zone in on Toya at the moment that this is said? Was Toya considered to be the successor to All for One before Shigaraki? Kind of like how Mirio Togato was considered to be the next successor for One for All before Midoriya, don't you think? Huh. Interesting juxtaposition for good and evil here. But now we got some narration. 11 years earlier, Sokoto Peak, which is the same location that Toya went to when he went to go train, and then I believe this is the moment where the big ginormous fire happened outside of the neighborhood of Endeavor way back when. And this is when I'm guessing this wildfire happened. It's so hot. No. I don't want to die. I still haven't shown him anything. And then it shows the guard coming up as Garaki continues saying, that one too was born with some cracks in him. No, maybe from the very start, it wasn't just cracks. Maybe that boy was born with everything, And as we see the aftermath of the flames, sorry, my shoe is kind of hitting my heel a little bit. As we see the aftermath of flames, we see the charred body of Toya here as All For One is walking up towards him. Amidst all the blazing inferno that's going on right now, it shows All For One just walking up to Toya as Toya is laying there with his body charred beyond recognition. And then Toya wakes up. He wakes up in a hospital bed. And it's all nice looking. It looks like it has kitty prints all over the place, cranes, and it has a sign that says, "Get better soon, sleepyhead." Where am I? I'm alive? And then there's some girls sitting over at a table saying, "Oh, he's awake. Sleepyhead's awake." And then he says, where are we? Where are we? And then it shows him saying, "Was that really my voice?" So apparently, Toya's voice has changed simply because he pretty much burned his body from the inside out. So his voice doesn't sound the same. So the voice I'm giving to him now, it's his new voice. Was that really my voice? And then the girl is there saying, "This is where we live." And then one of the little girls says, "Doctor." And then everyone is saying, "It's been 3 years, sleepyhead. You were asleep for 3 whole years." Wow, Toya was knocked out and in a coma for 3 years. "At least that's what the doctor told me, since I haven't been here all that long." 3 years? How? What happened? What's going on? I was on Sokoto Peak and then I burned up and I have to get home. And then there's a doctor-looking dude, some person with a sunshine like a flower for a face shows up. But this dude is abnormally muscular. And he says, we can't have that now, can we, Sonny? And he says Sonny, but not S-O-N-N-Y. He says S-U-N-N-Y, so he does sun puns. "We can't have that now, can we, Sonny?" And Toya says, "Why not? From now on, you live here with everyone. Your very own place under the sun. They're your new family. You'll come to love it, as sure as the sun does rise." Huh? That can't be. I gotta get home. I bet that Dad was just too busy to work to come see me, right? Probably. Yeah, he must be really worried. Those were some awful things I did and said. I should apologize to Mom and everyone, and Dad still needs to see what I can do. And then we get a voice. There's only one person who would come in through a TV screen talking to Toya right now. I gotta get my All For One voice ready. Sadly, your hope is in vain. Restoring your burnt and broken body was a monumental task. Your missing pieces had to be replaced via regenerative tissue. You're a changed man with that burn rictus look on your face, and yet you survived. I'm changed? I don't get what you're saying. You'll never exhibit the power you once had. Every organ was damaged. Your senses, your ability to feel pain, all dulled. Your body is debilitated, and you'll never be the same again. And Toya covers his face in utter shock. And then, obviously, All For One continues saying, "But alas, despite our best efforts, we wanted to welcome you in at your full strength. We failed. You must be suffering, you poor thing. But I might just be able to restore your flames to their full glory." Oh, I understand what he did. He took his quirk when he was unconscious and is now trying to give him his flames back as a way of being under his servitude. I know what you did. I know what you did, All For One. You took his power when Toya wasn't able to understand what was going on or when he was in a coma for 3 years, just so you could lord his own flames against him as a way of him as a way of him serving you. I know exactly what he did because I know how All For One works. He wants people to be in his servitude, so he does things to push people in his direction. So what better way to have a quirk person who had a flame quirk suddenly no longer have that power, and then you just say, I might just be able to restore your flames to their full glory. Well, what do you say? Will you join our family and allow me to raise you? And Toya starts tearing up as he's thinking of his father, and he says, shut up. No way am I getting trained by anyone else. So even here, he's still thinking of his father and would rather have his father train him, even after all this time. And then we have Garaki, who's speaking in the present day, saying, he'd already been too molded by his upbringing for us to lead him astray. He was already festering away inside. Even the man who had known absolute control, far and wide, couldn't exploit the boy's obsession with his father. Those kids were our spares, in case anything happened to Tomura Shigaraki. A seedbed of ferocity and hatred, one full of vessels for the Demon King. Dabi, as one of those spares, was a failed experiment. And then the guard is thinking, how despicable. No, never mind. What are you even trying to say? More crap about how All for One had everything planned out from the start? And then Garaki continues, I'm saying they'd better watch out, 'cause that one boy never did buy what we were selling. Nah, we gave up on Dabi and let him run loose, 'cause after his body came back to life and he was up and about, he wasn't supposed to live for more than a month. What a surprise when the broker brought him back to our doorstep. Why had he come back? How was he still alive? And then it cuts to Dabi meeting with Garaki in the past. Ujiko, you're the one who kept me alive, right? I had to know what Dabi was really thinking, so I arranged a moment when we'd be alone, just the two of us. Why, I'm tickled pink that you realized. Now tell me, what's been keeping you kicking? And here's the thing, Dabi is here with the High-End Nomu, the same High-End Nomu that attacked Endeavor way back when. Seeing this walking corpse here gives me a decent idea. Oh. And he's looking up at High-End Nomu saying, seeing this walking corpse here gives me a decent idea of what you people were planning to do with me. And I'm back now because this seemed like the perfect place for my funeral. That one glimpse told me everything. He'd kept his dying body tethered to this world through a pure, blazing grudge. And it shows the glaring eyes of Dabi as it shows the staples in his skin. And this is a highly, highly detailed part. This is a highly detailed section of a highly detailed panel showing his eye, like the singe burned flesh that's stapled together, and then the sides of his face that's stapled together as well. He'd kept his dying body tethered to this world through a pure blazing grudge. And then it shows us going back to the present with apparently Toya speaking about what happened with him saying, Shoto, I did come home actually, even though I was weaker than ever, and there was no way that what I was hoping for was there. But I was sure something must have changed. It's all I wanted to see. I still just wanted to be seen. But then, instead, I was shown once more the reason I was born. And then he comes back and apparently he found his, death picture. His shrine built to him that Endeavor had with his face there. After 3 years away, I witnessed that old familiar scene as it shows Endeavor going up against Shoto, and Endeavor is still continuing in his own old ways way back in the past. Instead, I was shown once more the reason I was born. The fact is, as a failed creation, my life had been pointless. This family had left me behind in their past. When you surpass your limits, it's like everything you've built up. It's flipped around upside down. I focused on honing my flame so I wouldn't be so weak when next we met. This body of mine kept peeling away and falling to pieces, but I never felt a thing. You want battle moves? I've seen them all over and over. And then the guy who's with Shoto is saying, Shoto, listen, I think... And then Shoto says, yeah, he's been prepared to die from the start. Every time that thing saved the city, every time that thing got a boost in popularity, my heart kept pounding away. Ever since the day. And it shows that Toya actually made his way back home to the Todoroki homestead and saw his funeral shrine sitting in a room. Ever since that day. Heat is energy born of living things as they move and thrive. That Toya died and Dabi was born. Hold on, well, ever since that day, let me go back. Every time that thing saved the city, meaning Endeavor, every time that thing got a boost in popularity, my heart kept pounding away. Ever since that day, that Toya died and Dabi was born. Then we go to the lower panels. Heat is energy born of living things as they move and thrive. All for One, who seeks to live forever, had no use for that mad heat rushing headlong towards death. The Demon Lord himself had to abandon that frenzied flame of death. Wow. It's crazy that this dude is speaking of frenzied flame, and that's one of the endings of Elden Ring. But it shows Dabi erupting himself in flames so hot that his entire body is getting charred beyond recognition. His skeleton is starting to be seen underneath him, and he's starting to melt the statue of All for One. Not All for One. He's starting to melt the statue of All Might that was erected after he finally defeated All for One way back when. His flames are so hot now that it's melting the statue. And then it comes to Toya, who's literally burning him. He's burning himself to death. He is burning himself to death. What used to be where his nose used to be, that's been singed off. And it's starting to go up his entire face. I can't wait to see this animated one day. But it shows he no longer has any lips. It just shows the teeth. He's becoming a burning skeleton right now. Toya is erupting himself in so much flames that his whole body is just burning away. His face has become a visage of horror. The only skin that's left is like the top part of his forehead and a little bit indent here, so it's like a domino mask type shape, but it's burned flesh. And his whole body is just up in flames. Even his own clothes is starting to go up, though they're slightly flame retardant so they can resist it. But his whole body getting charred beyond recognition. He's no longer the Dabi or Toya we once knew. He's gone. His whole visage has completely changed. Then he uses an attack called Flash Fire Heat Fist. Once I've burned away all that thing holds dear and near, that'll be the mark I've left on this world. And then Shoto comes in saying, like I said, big brother, not on my watch. So now we're finally reaching the moment where Shoto is about to battle his big brother. And his big brother has pretty much resigning himself to die, but in the process burn away everything he holds near and dear to his heart. And that's Shoto, because Shoto is seen as the successful one, the success child, the successful birth, I would dare say. But that's the end of that chapter. Wow. So it turns out that had Tomura Shigaraki not have panned out, Toya was a replacement to be the new vessel for All for One. Unfortunately for All for One, Toya's upbringing with Endeavor pretty much made it so that no one else could tell Toya what to do. Not even All for One, who could get basically anything that he wanted through manipulation and the like, still couldn't get rid of the obsession of always wanting to prove himself to his father from Toya. That is, it's crazy, because Toya is the very first person that refuses I think he's the first person that refuses All for One. Like, All for One has a lot of good deals that he gives to a lot of people, manipulates them in a way so that they can be under his servitude. But Toya is the first one. Toya is the first one to actually say, like, dude, I don't need you. Leave me alone. And All for One is all like, really? Because when you think about it, All for One, it may not be used to people saying no to him. Even Garaki is all like a person who could have anything that he wanted the world over, and he was refused by a boy who could not get rid of his upbringing or obsession with his father. Don't know how Shoto can ever stand up to Toya power-wise? Well, we don't know the upper limits of what Shoto can do. But I believe we're about to find out, Allie. I believe we're about to find out. But yeah, Toya is basically a Nomu. Because they regenerated his entire body using regenerative tissue, but all of that is for naught now, because Toya is going out of his way to set his entire body on fire just to kill Shoto. And also, he's ruining All Might's statue. So that's gone. That's getting melted directly, because Toya is standing on top of All Might's statue all the way in, what is it? Not Deka City, but, what is it called? Jakku? I forget the city where the final fight between All for One and All Might happened. But he's standing on top of the statue, and he's just burning it, and he's melting it from the intense heat that he's outputting in his body. So, real quick, let's look this up real quick. Let's look up Toya Todoroki. And let me go down to his quirk. And then let me see how hot flames have to be. Okay, let's see. How hot does metal need to be to melt? How hot do you need to melt metal? All right, so steel often melts at around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit or 1,370 degrees Celsius. But that's only if All Might's statue is made of steel, but it's metal overall. So the thing about his quirk is called Cremation. Generally, let me just go here, just to see just how intense the flames that is surrounding Shoto and the rest of them truly are. His flames are hot enough to burn people down to their very bones. That's how hot his flames are. Cremation is the unnamed quirk to use by Dabi. Like his father's quirk, Hellflame, Dabi's quirk grants him fire-based abilities, particularly creating and generating fire from his body at will. However, unlike Hellflame, Dabi's are blue in color, meaning that they burn much hotter. And blue flames are always hotter than regular flames. I mean, take Azula's flames from Avatar, for example. That's a higher grade of fire than what Zuko or normal firebenders are able to use. So his flames are not only highly destructive, but they also burn much hotter. The user can ignite blue flame anywhere on their body with minimal effort or movement almost instantaneously. They can also combust anything they touch almost instantly, including robust materials and living creatures alike. For example, by touching a single tree in the beast forest, Dabi was able to set the majority of the forest ablaze, trapping everyone there in a ring of fire. The flames of this quirk are extremely hot, burning at a temperature of at least 2,000 degrees. So that's actually hotter than the melting point of steel. So he's actually burning hotter than what I thought he was burning hot enough to melt the statue with. He's actually burning at a hotter temperature than it is required to melt steel. 3,632 degrees Fahrenheit, which is higher than that of Wow, that's actually hotter than lava, apparently, which is higher than that of lava and normal fire, signified by its blue coloration. Dabi's flames were hot enough to burn an entire group of villains into ash in mere seconds. They are also quite bright, making them effective against Dark Shadow. His flames are powered by his emotions, seemingly his rage. So the greater his anger, the hotter his flames are, which means that in this instant, as Dabi is continuing to fight against Shoto and the rest of them, his rage is at its peak. Especially seeing the object of his rage, or the object of the object of his father's admiration directly in front of him, that is already setting his emotions on an all-time high, which means that even though his flames normally are burning at a heat comparable to that of lava, higher than lava, I would dare say his flames are burning at a moment where they are so hot that they're burning everything instantly around him, save for the people inside, and he's already melting the All Might statue. So with his quirk being guided by his emotions, and with him being in a position where he is at an all-time high on his emotions right now, which is full of rage and anger, as he prepares to just maliciously kill Shoto, his flames are at their peak right now. I would dare say they're at their peak right now. But as we can see, the hotter the flames are that he outputs, it also has the weakness of burning his entire body. Weakness. The major drawback of Dabi's ability is that his flames can't handle the heat due to inheriting his mother's genes, which grant resistance to freezing temperatures instead of intense heat. Overusing his flames will cause his skin to swell, sizzle, and slowly burn over time. This prevents Dabi from fighting prolonged battles and severely limits his endurance. As stated by Dabi upon overusing his quirk, prolonged usage of it causes him to lose sensation in his body and possibly render him completely numb. Losing control of his emotions will cause his flames to run wild or ignite hotter than his body can handle. During the Second War, the danger of this weakness has become more apparent as Dabi continues to abuse his quirk. This has led to his already burned flesh beginning to crisp away and fall off, effectively destroying his body, which means that he does not care what happens to him. As long as he gets to kill Shoto, that's all that really matters to him. And apparently, Cremation's flames used to be red. They turned blue when Dabi's body started to develop. So as he got older, his flames started to get hotter and hotter and hotter to the point where he couldn't control them anymore. Just imagine if Toya didn't have a weak body. Imagine if All For One decided to put a regenerative quirk inside of Toya to compensate for his genes, making him less resistant to the heat. He would be incredibly powerful. I mean, mind you, let me just say this. He's already incredibly powerful, but he also has that weakness that's destroying his body in the process. He's a bit like a glass cannon. But the cannon also starts, but the glass cannon itself starts to fracture itself because it's glass from the shot. Like, he's incredibly powerful, but he himself is still subject to his own power. And since his emotions are running rampant right now in the worst possible way, his body does not have long. And given the fact that he's able to burn people to a crisp in mere seconds, he himself does not have long before either the flames take him or Shoto beats him. That is the only outcome. Either he burns up trying to fight Shoto, or Shoto takes him down and tries to save him. Because just letting you know, Shoto has ice, which can be used as a good way to freeze up Toya and, kind of keep any more damage to his body at a minimum by, flash freezing him. But this is only going to end one way. This is only going to end one way. Either Dabi just gives in to his emotions and he burns up in the process of fighting Shoto, or Shoto stops him and tries to save his... Pardon me. Either Shoto stops him and tries to save his brother. But let me just touch back on one more thing, and then I'll bring this stream to a close because I don't want to go too long. I still need to eat out with my sisters and meet up with them as soon as possible. One thing I need to touch on is that Garaki said Ujiko. I'm just going to call him Ujiko from now on. Ujiko's the doctor. His name is Garaki. But Ujiko is the doctor for All For One. And he said spares, plural. Not saying that Toya was the only spare other than if Shigaraki didn't work out. He said spares, plural. So other than Toya, who are the other spares? They can't be Nomu. They had to have been, he said, warped seeds. Let me go back to it. He said warped seeds that could serve as his vessel. Twisted raw material born into this world. So people who could be manipulated by their emotions, which just makes me wonder, who was he meaning? Who else is a warped seed, raw material, a person with emotions that All for One could possibly use as a vessel in the future? Who else is there other than Toya? You think we'll possibly touch on that? Find out who these other spares are? Just something to think about. I think the entire place was a place for spares. Yeah, when you think, oh, right, you're right. The hospital itself, entire hospital itself you're right, Lucky. You're right, Lucky. The hospital itself was a hospital of spares. Before Dabi burnt it down running away. Yeah. He burned down the entire hospital. Now, did he burn down and kill everyone inside? That's the thing. Or did he let some people get out, like the two girls that introduced themselves? Because if he didn't, and he just burned it down and all the people inside, which included kids, like kids who didn't know any better. Chisaki was in the small hospital. He was. Oh wait, this isn't the same one. This isn't the same one. It just makes me wonder, with him burning down that entire hospital, did anyone make it out or did he just kill everyone inside? Because the big buff sunshine man was saying, like, this is your home now. And Toya's all like, no, I'm not staying here. I'm going back with my family. So one way you can get out of a place you don't want to be in is by burning it all down and running. Oh, Chisaki was in the same hospital. So does this mean that Chisaki was seen as a spare as well? That's interesting. Especially with his overhaul quirk. I mean, not his overhaul quirk, but his quirk that allows him to dismantle and repiece things. He could be seen as a worthy enough vessel for the All for One's power on top of all the stuff that he can do. Hold on. Let me go back to Kai Chisaki. Where's his history? Let me go to his history. Because that's very interesting if Chisaki was there as well. Let's see. Was found and raised by the boss of CA Hasaikai. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Did I already do One Piece? Can't find it on my channel? I did it. It's there. It's there on the Uploads tab. But I did it. It's 54 minutes and 26 seconds long. But yeah, it's there. Let me double check. Hold on. Because you know how YouTube is. Sometimes they can be real random with how fast or how quickly they process videos. So let me check on YouTube and see if it's actually there. Go to live. It's not private. Hold on, let me double check. It's public. Yeah, it's public. I dare say that YouTube is probably processing it in the background. You found it? Okay, good. As long as you guys are able to see it, that's what matters to me. I mean, when I pull it up on my phone and I go to, if I go to my channel right now, it shows my reaction on uploads, but when I go to like my videos, it doesn't show it there. So just give it a little bit of time. But yeah. There's a panel of Chisaki saying the hospital that quirks were diseases, and the background is the kids' hospital. Yeah. So that means that Chisaki was inside that hospital as well. That's interesting. So Chisaki has ties to All for One that he just didn't know the entire time. And I guess when the hospital burned down, Chisaki got out, and that's when the Hasaikai boss found him. Yo, it's all coming together. When Dabi burned down the hospital, Chisaki must have gotten out, and that's when the boss found him. And that's when Chisaki was in servitude to the boss. And why he stands behind the boss so much, because he found him after having a home that Chisaki has known all that time after it burned down. Ooh, it's all coming together. That has to be the reason. That's interesting. That's very interesting. But overall, we're going to be getting our Shoto versus Dabi fight very, very soon. It looks like it's about to happen right now because he uses Flash Fire Heat Fist against Shoto. It's all connected. Exactly. It's all connected. It's crazy. It's all connected. I'm starting to see the lines being pieced together. It's like, this character was here this whole time, which means that this character could have been seen as a spare for All for One that he never knew. Think Ujiko also influenced Chisaki's view on quirks? Well, with Ujiko's history of working with quirks and him having a longevity quirk implanted in him, yeah, he would have a lot of knowledge to give to Chisaki as well. Which is why Chisaki knows so much about quirks and did experimentations on Eri as he did, because maybe Ujiko rubbed off on him. Because how else would he know? How else would he know how to hurt Eri in order to get access to her quirk's power to make those quirky racing bullets? If he didn't learn medical procedure from someone like Ujiko. Stands to reason. Everything is connected, and the lines are being put up, so now we're starting to understand it even more. That's why I love this story. That's why I love One Piece and this story. Things that you didn't notice at the beginning start to become pieced together more and more as you go back and look at previous chapters, and you remember, wow, so this happened this whole time, and this person is linked to this person, but this person didn't even know it? You don't think Shoto's ice is cold enough to counter Dabi's flames? I mean, who knows? It could be, it may not be. Or Shoto could use a combination of both his ice and fire at the same time, like he's been training towards, and it could actually do some damage to Dabi. We're just going to have to see. Because we don't know the upper limits of Shoto's strength. We've seen him struggling to try and get to try and use both his heat side and his cold side at the exact same time. But I believe this fight with his older brother is going to be the one that, or here's the thing. We're speaking of Shoto's ice not being cold enough to counter Dabi's flames, but we're speaking from Shoto, who possibly has not evolved his quirk yet. Because think about it. Himiko Toga's quirk evolved in the heat of a life or death situation. Shigaraki's quirk evolved in the middle of a life or death situation. Midoriya's quirks have been evolving as well. So it would stand to reason that if Shoto is in a similar situation, his quirk could evolve too. So who knows? What we're seeing right now is Shoto not pushing himself to the point where his quirk evolves in the middle of the fight. Because if it can happen for Toga, if it can happen for Shigaraki, if it can happen for Midoriya, it can happen for Shoto. That's just how I feel about it. Because it also says that Dabi's flames used to be red, but as he started to develop, it turned blue. So his quirk evolved as he got older, and he developed it more. Here we have Shoto, who I don't think has evolved his quirk yet, so it stands to reason like this could be the perfect opportunity for Shoto to do it. I mean, he is part of the big three of Class 1A with him, Bakugo, and Midoriya, so it stands to reason that with Midoriya getting stronger, then Shoto has to get stronger as well. Just like Bakugo, he has to get stronger too. And this fight between his long-lost, once-thought-dead brother is going to be the catalyst to make Shoto get even stronger than before. That's how I feel about it. That's how I feel. But we gotta wait. We gotta wait to see where this chapter goes because we're going on break for not only My Hero Academia, but we're also going on break for One Piece. So there will not be a reaction for either of those series next week. I think All for One was close by when both Tomura and Toya lost control of their quirks. All for One does have Force Quirk activation after all. He does. That's interesting. Now that you mentioned Force Quirk activation, they were all on the edge of death when it happened, though, so Shoto's going to get hurt badly in that logic. Yeah, good point. I would hate for Shoto to be near death and be grievously injured in order for his quirk to evolve, so I kind of don't want that. I kind of don't want him to get grievously injured in order for his quirk to evolve. But back to what Ali M says, All for One always being close by when their quirks, when Tomura's and Toya's quirks go out of control. It's funny how that happens, right? Granted, he doesn't have the search quirk back then because that's when Ragdoll had it. It's funny how he always seems to show up when the people he wants to be his next vessel were in very dire straits. You got Tomura, after killing his family accidentally and eviscerating everyone, out on the streets by himself with no one to accept him. Then you got Toya, who pretty much almost burned himself to a crisp, and All for One is there as well. All for One is always there perfectly to set himself up to be the hero that saves these people. I mean, he did say that you can be someone's hero. So to them, him showing up in the nick of time is exactly like All for One's MO. He shows up right when people are in dire straits or in desperate need of help, and he does things in order to put these people in his servitude. Kind of funny when you think about it. But not much else I can say about this chapter. If I missed anything, you guys just let me know in the comments. But the fight between brother and brother, the Todoroki fight is about to begin, and Shoto's the only one who has what it takes to take on his older brother, because no one else is fully prepared to take on, flames hotter than lava. So we're just going to have to wait. We got to wait a whole week before we get the next chapter. Maybe he has a lesser version of the search quirk. It's possible. Because who knows what all quirks he had in his body. We don't know the upper limits of all the quirks he has. We just know he has a ton of them. Like, he has a ton of the same type quirks like muscle enhancers and rivets and bone spurs and all sorts of different things. So who knows what type of quirk he has in his body that allows him to just coincidentally find these people that he can put in his service. But we gotta wait. We just gotta wait a whole week before we see the next chapter of My Hero or One Piece. And that's all I got, you guys. I don't want to keep going any longer than I already have because I want to go ahead and eat with my sisters. But all I can say is for everyone who is here, I enjoy doing this immensely. I enjoy reading. I enjoy doing the voices. I enjoy doing this for all of you. There is no greater joy I see throughout my week whenever I do this. Trust me. And I work a third shift job, and this is by far one of the best uses of my times. And I'm looking forward to the day when I can actually do this all the time rather than partially because I got a late night shift. I'm looking forward to the day when I can do this all the time for all of you. And that day is coming. That day is coming. I'm patient. I'm just know that it's on its way. And when that day happens, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a stream celebrating. I'm gonna have a stream celebrating that I'm finally free. No more 9 to 5s. So yes, I just thank you all for your support in that endeavor. So all I can say is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then consider subscribing or even consider becoming a member, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples. Ooh, I'm hungry now. Time to get my fish. Time to get my flounder fish fillets and jumbo shrimp. Shrimp.